Hello my friends, this is umonox, and in today's video I want to quickly have a look at the new Wavefinder that Elektron has introduced in the recent Tonverk OS 1.3.0. And that's actually a surprise, to be honest. This thing can actually be considered the first true synth for that machine, and I totally dig that thing. This is really the machine we wanted, and this is really the machine we were waiting for. Except for maybe a slice machine and some time stretching or anything like that. But that synth part, this thing is really good. So I quickly want to show you what that thing is, just in case you haven't watched those myriad of videos about it just yet. And then we will have a look at what we can do with this besides the wavetables and everything. So let's get started. Okay, first let's go on to an empty track right here. And we find the Wavefinder right here in the sources where we find all these other types of machines. It's right here. And now just a quick recap in case you haven't watched all these introductory videos yet. The Wavefinder is a wavetable oscillator thing. That's a wavetable synth. It has two independent wavetable oscillators that can be blended together with the level knobs up here, and they are identical. There is one difference, I will show you that later, but in all those specific areas they are more or less identical. And now the way that works is we load a wavetable inside, and what is actually a wavetable? Well, you probably know what single cycle waveforms are, right? So single cycle waveforms are just tiny bits of samples, really tiny, and those are looped on a track to actually create a sound. And they are more or less made in a way so that they are tuning stable, so to say. And a wavetable is a set of those different waveforms, of those different single cycle waveforms attached together to more or less get kind of a more complex waveform over time. And a wavetable oscillator is then capable of morphing between those different kind of waves inside that table to create a lot of movement in the sound and to create those very typical timbres that we know from wavetable oscillators. So think of this, when we have that one right here, that first, think of those as the different waves. So let's say we have a single cycle waveform here, we have a single cycle waveform here, here, and here. And those five together are now, from here to here, those are now the actual wavetable. And let's actually find some. Now I have some loaded already because I've made a project on this thing for that purpose, but let's actually load something new. Elektron gives you a couple of these wavetables for free already. They are part of the Tonverk OS update, and I've put them onto my Tonverk as well. But the cool thing is we are not limited to those, so we can use literally any kind of wavetables that we have. And there are tons and tons and tons of libraries out there where you can get a whole bunch of different wavetables for all kinds of applications. And I decided, I have an installation of Arturia Pigments on my computer, and I decided, well, I just take the wavetables from Pigments straight onto the Tonverk, and that is working. So I put them in here and have a whole bunch of different types of shapes that I can play with. And let's actually start with some to give you an example of how that thing works. So like monster, this is blob, yeah, nothing. Oh, I was going out there. Nothing really inside here. One other cool thing is that Tonverk now remembers the subpages where you left the sample browser before, and that's the new browser for the wavetables straight here inside the machine, and it remembers those locations as well. So let's find something. I don't know, fold format, doesn't actually matter, just like synthesizers. Yeah, so let's actually try those out, and let's see basic waves. And I often when I'm working with a wavetable synth, I want to have a listen to how these things sound on lower octaves, and that's also cool. We can do that here. There's a certain delay, by the way, when you scroll through these waves here. You see, when you do that very fast, it doesn't catch up very good. So just make sure you wait a little until you switch to the next wave. Let's take that one first and let's have it in here. And let's go to the higher octave again. So that's just a basic wave right here. And the way the oscillator works is it can scan through these waves. When I play that thing back right now and turn the position, listen to what happens. So this changes the timbre. And as you can see, there are very complex wave shapes in here, and this is actually the first wave that is inside the wavetable, and that's the last wave that is inside the wavetable. And in between, we can interpolate to get an interesting motion, and that motion can be automated. And we could do that with LFOs, of course. So we could just put an LFO onto that position marker right here, but we can also do that with an integrated kind of modulation system that we've built into both of these oscillators. So it's the same for both. And they come with different wave shapes, like standard wave shapes that are one shot, meaning they are just going through one cycle, and when they stop, go back basically. And when we have those, which are, it's hard to see, look at the top right here, those are marked with that little arrow kind of thing here, and those show you that those are looped versions, so they loop indefinitely. Now let's first try that exponential down waveform here, and let's see how that works. When we hit that play and we turn the position up right here, this is the modulation intensity, so to say. It starts to modulate. Goes through the wave like that. And how fast or how slow this is going is determined with the speed parameter here. So turning it very slow, we can actually make some kind of an evolving thing, pretty good for pads and stuff like that. And if you turn it really fast, we can create some kind of different timbres from that very waveform, effectively turning it into a different one, but not in those one-shot modes. Have a listen what happens when. Now we have just a click, but once we turn that thing into something that actually loops, have a listen to how that sounds now. Turns it almost into a completely different wave again, but that's just, yeah, there are some, this is really trial and error. There are some waveforms that you can find where this makes a much more tremendous difference than it does right now. But yeah, just to get an idea about that. Okay, so with that wave, if I say, okay, I like that wave, I can actually create very simple. Let's say I want to have kind of a different shape here for that. I said I like that thing, but I want a bass note for that thing. Now I can go to the second oscillator and actually assign another wave right here to get that bass note. But if I want to match those things up, I say, okay, I quite like that waveform, but I want to start from a different position. I just hit the source and copy button. Now I can copy the wavetable right here with all of its settings, go to the second oscillator, hit source and paste. And now it's in there, so we have it 2 times. And here comes the difference between those two machines. Up here we have our tuning parameter. That actually defines the tuning of these oscillators, and this thing applies to both of them. Like when I turn this an octave down, both are played an octave down. The second one, however, has an addition to that, and that's called a detune parameter right here, because this thing can have different octaves, which we can choose with keeping the function button pressed so that we can snap to these values. But it always follows the first oscillator. So now it's an octave lower, and now it's 2 octaves lower. But once we change the octave on the upper one right here, the second oscillator will follow. See? It doesn't keep its lower octave. That's just something to know, and I don't know why Elektron decided to do it like that. It would have been cool as well to just set those independently, but well, that's just a design decision that I don't want to question right now. That's just how it is. And so that's actually the basic of that thing. And we have that level parameter right here, which can actually this allows us to change the modulation depth of these animations right here. Have a listen when we do that. Let's turn the second oscillator down real quick so that we can hear that better. So this more or less sets the level. It's a little bit better to hear when we choose those looped versions here. You can see turning it to the left actually blends it completely. Does not even have a noticeable effect in that case, but turning it to the left more or less reveals just the motion that is created. At least to me it sounds like that. See that? And turning it to the right reveals more of it again. Oh, oops, that was the wrong note. Yeah, but you get the point, you know. That's just how that works, and we can mix and match those and blend them in between. That's actually pretty cool. And one other thing that is really nice on that thing is in these shapes we also have the option to modulate with the other oscillator. Like that we can have some kind of modulation coming from the other oscillator. Now the motion is actually the motion that is coming from the second oscillator is now modulating the first one. Since that doesn't have a shape right like that, we can do something like that. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's see what that sounds like. It's like syncing those oscillators up, you know, just a bit like that, and that's also reflected quite well in those waveforms, as you can see how that thing is moving down here. It's kind of a wobbly movement, and now the same wobbly movement is also to be seen on the first waveform here. Yeah. So that's basically how it works with those things and how they interact with each other, and I really find that's a huge addition to the Tonverk. This is actually a true synth now. I mean, it would be cool to have things like hard sync or something, or maybe even some kind of ring mod as well on maybe a third page and something. And one other thing is that there is no way to actually detune those oscillators individually. Not like we have it on the grainer, for example, where we have that pan parameter, like here on the grainer. There is that pan spread parameter here, which allows these grains that are generated in the grainer to be spread across the stereo field. Now on that one, we cannot do that, so those things are always centered in the middle. That's a little bit of a drawback at the moment, but I think this is just something that Elektron can easily fix in an OS update later on. Okay, so let's see what else we can do now. Those are wavetables that we are currently using, but there is nothing that prevents us to just use standard samples. So why not taking a drum loop or something like that. Let's actually try that out. So I just pick an empty slot and look in my samples here and see if I can find a drum loop or something. Like, this is just playing around now, guys. Just playing around, and I see if I can find something. Those are one shots, I guess. Nope. I just have to have a look at whether I find some drum loops, full drum loops or something like that. So let's just use that one. And that sounds probably quite weird now. See? This is just weird. The thing is, since these samples are looped, you know, those are actually single cycle waveforms, and it more or less just picks an extremely tiny little portion of that drum loop right now and loops it, and that's why it on that octave is so high. So first thing is we turn the speed down. That is something very important. Speed down, and now let's go to a very low octave. You can see the lowest possible octave, and now it's just a repeat. And to make that work, we just go through the whole thing, like probably a little bit too low. So here comes another thing. We can set the speed to some kind of tempo synced variants, which are working pretty neat. And now I tried it. I think we should also do some kind of looping here, like that maybe. So, of course, it doesn't sound like the drum loop, does it? Which is pretty normal. But we can at least replicate a little bit of that rhythmic effect. Now let's see what we can do with another waveform. Maybe we can use that to shape it. Let's actually take the ultra saw that we had before. Let's see. Okay, that's currently not working. Our octave is too low, so let's actually go up here and turn the octave all the way down. Now we cannot hear that one, so let's turn the octave all the way up. Here we go here. Sounds weird, does it? Okay, let's do something. Let's actually try to animate that one with the first wave, and let's have a look, listen to what that sounds like. Maybe turn it a little bit quieter. That's just playing around, you know. But we can do a couple of interesting things that way. Just like having those things synced up with some kind of a drum loop or anything like that. It's just playing around, you know. You must take your time with that stuff. It's just very hard to actually get something great going on in just a short amount of time. But this is just as an example so that you see you can do these kinds of things. Like just the way you want them. You can do those kinds of things if you want to, but you need to take your time and really find out what works best and find the sweet spot and everything. And this can really take a while, but it's just something that I wanted to show, that you are not limited to Wavetables itself. You can just put everything in there. And Yeah, and finally I've made some sounds earlier as I've tested that out, and I really want to show you something with that. So let's just quickly have a listen to those sounds, should we? So that's the first track. I have kind of like a gnarly lead sound of some kind. It sounds like that. Very powerful, with a certain bass down below and everything. Kinda neat. And on that one right here, I actually made some kind of a stutter effect with the help of that speed parameter right here. Listen to that one. That's stuttering quite a lot, does it? And I've actually used the LFO right here as a one-shot with such an exponential wave on that speed right here for the first oscillator to actually put that one really into a stuttering kind of phase. Like that sounds really cool. And I can control that with that one here. There's kind of a doubling effect inside. I don't know if you can hear that. I actually also don't know how it comes to life, but it works. It really works. So things like that, you can just, nothing prevents you from using the LFOs on those parameters here as well as those. So you can still use them and create some more sophisticated sounds that way. And let's see what I have here. Yeah. Here I have something that was kind of I was using some sort of a arpeggiator sound like that. I quickly want to show you. That's that one here. Let's just go in, shift and yes, so I can come to the part. This is the arpeggio. And that was used in here. And I've did some kind of a sample and hold animation right here. And have a standard wave, kind of a standard wave below, and that has led to a sound like that. No, that's too high. So combined wavetables as well as a standard melodic kind of synth sample and everything. And yeah, so okay, I don't want to make that video longer than necessary, but I really think this is a great addition to the Tonverk, and that was really welcomed. There are things that we haven't touched just yet on the Tonverk, things that I've actually complained about a little bit, but I really hope this is just a matter of time. Like, for example, the LFO trick parameter is still not there, and subtracks in my opinion are still a little bit limited. Even if we have some kind of choke groups now, there is still no way to have individual sends on those and everything like that. But this is just, yeah, this is something which is another topic. But the Wavefinder, the way it is absolutely amazing. I totally like that, and even with the standard wavetables alone, we can already create some very nice and deep sounds with this thing right now, if we take the time for, because that just really takes time to get the best out of it. Okay, my friends, I hope you've enjoyed that video, and if that's the case, don't forget to leave a like and tell me about it. And I see you in my next video, and I hope that this will be the actual sound pack for the Tonverk, for the Digitone that I've already kind of like teased a couple of days before. Okay, guys, so have a great time, and I see you next time.